relationships.
On your podcast.
Yes. So what about relationships? Like, what happened that day? Because it was like 11 a.m. So what happened?
I was dropping you to the airport or something?
No, you're dropping Rahdan to the airport.
Okay, so I was dropping Rahdan to the airport. You were with me.
Yes.
And we just talked about... You got it?
I know what we talked about. We talked about how... About space. About how necessary it is to take space from relationships.
Any relationships, or are we talking about romantic relationships?
Any relationship. Yeah, basically like giving yourself time to be on your own, especially when you are in a either friendship or relationship with someone constantly. Yeah.
That's not usually normal in our side of the world. I believe in it. I'm with you on this one. And recently me and Ahmed had like separate trips separately. And it wasn't the nicest thing, but we both needed it. So I believe in that. But a lot of people say that this is kind of a distance. I don't know, is it an Arab thing that we believe that we have to be with each other all the time? Even friendships. Everything has to be done together and, you know, and everyone has to be updated and stuff. So where did that come from? Like, why do you believe so?
One, Arabs really care about what other people think. And that's basically how we're brought up. Like, شو حيحكوا الناس, basically. And from that, we're sort of raised to follow the same kind of culture, tradition, personality, you know, in front of other people, to be polite, to be calm, to be proper.
You mean like the blending, the social blending?
Yeah. Blending
how to
into
not stand out too much.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's really ironic,
considering
I for one, I'm not going to speak on the behalf of both of you, but I, for one, I am incapable of blend.
I think that would be the end of you.
Seriously.
But have you ever tried blending?
100%.
When did you stop?
That's a really good question. That I've never thought about that. When did I stop blending? I think, look, I'll be very honest. Having grown up in Abu Dhabi, you blend as much as you can because you want to avoid being the center of attention of a village that's 10 people. Because essentially once the word spreads, it spreads like wildfire.
But that's entirety of Middle East. We are big countries, but we are small town behavior mentality kind of thing. Sorry, go ahead. Go on.
No, that makes sense. But we grew up in Abu Dhabi, and I don't know if Asil knew about me before I came to high school, but I... Say yes.
No, I don't.
But essentially, I left one school to go to another school because of all the shit that went down in the first school. But as soon as I got into the second school, everyone already knew my name. It doesn't matter what happened. Backstory.
We need an episode for that.
Yeah, that trauma is yet to tell. But essentially, whatever had happened, no matter who I was, in that moment, I was the person people wanted to talk about because it was the most interesting thing, because I did not blend. And so you grow up thinking that you have to blend because you're taught that there is a certain way to do things, and you can only do life correctly if you follow these guidelines that are presented to you at birth. And then who designs these guidelines? El-Nas.
The big evil.
El-Nas, and that's what you said.
Yeah, please.
And so when did I stop blending? I think even when I left to study abroad, I was blending there because I was confused on how much I was allowed to be myself and how much of myself did I know existed. So I think that's a really big question. And as at what point do you stop blending because you have almost formulated the ideal person that you are, and then that's who you want to present the world to. And that's something that as Arab we are not given the chance to do so.
Or tools.
Yeah. Like I've never been encouraged to be yourself. I was never.
Don't be yourself. Don't be
calm
anything
down.
but yourself.
Yeah, calm down. Be quiet. Don't laugh like that. Don't look like that. Don't. Yeah.
Hey.
Why don't you look like that?
I can give you one little sample of my past. Whenever my parents would have friends over, I would sit with the women because I enjoyed the topics my mother and her friends would have. I didn't understand. I don't care about oil. So why would I sit with Baba?
Oil.
حبيبي أنت رجال. اقعد مع أبوك. تعلم.
It was the opposite for me. I enjoyed male conversations and hangouts more than female. Although I went to an all-girls school.
Interesting.
But I always gravitate towards hanging out with men very platonically.
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed the company. And that ostracized me from female communities because
I can relate to that 100%.
So what do you prefer hangout? Do you have more male friends than females?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like growing up in school, a lot of my friends were guy friends, and it was very unfamiliar to my parents for us to have guy friends.
Yeah.
And so slowly we had to be like, it's okay, you know, we are in an international community
that you put us in,
so you can't expect us to follow your ways. It's okay to have a guy friend here, you know, it's very normal. Yeah, they are just friends, you know. So that took a while to actually like get to my parents' head, but then at some point they're like, okay, we see it, like
it looks okay.
They met Stavros, they met other guys, and they're like, they're like, you know what? Please do hang out.
Stavros, great. Male? Excellent. That's your boundary.
Great male. He's good male.
I'm the benchmark of a girl's best friend. Seriously.
Basically, yeah.
But yeah, so we were talking and then about distance in relationships and then distance from families and how distance from essentially your parents can create this new format where you're no longer in hiding or you're no longer blending. And I think that's where we're at. It's when did I stop blending? When I distanced from my parents.
Was it easy to put boundaries?
Oh, wow. Was it easy to put boundaries? Look, I had an idea on what I wanted, but my life had been designed to be dependent. I think growing up also Arab.
That's true.
Our parents have this idea that you have to be with them until you're married and then you have to be independent. And this whole idea that you have to be
Well, that's from a male perspective. From a female perspective, you're dependent your whole life.
100%, yeah.
But yeah.
What's your little dependent story? I feel like there's unloading to do here.
I think as long as I can remember, all I wanted to is break free. And I knew that was financial independence. So my whole life was geared towards that. And I tried living alone for a bit. My mom and my family gave me a lot of crap. And then I wasn't alone until my dad passed. And it's sad that I had to go through my dad's passing for me to live alone. And then I met Ahmed. So that lasted for a couple of years mainly. But there was an article I read or something on a post I read that women in the Middle East and maybe a lot of Asian countries, they never have their own space. If ever.
That's so crazy.
It gave me a minute. Yeah, I had to take a minute. I was like, that's really, really true.
Okay, just going back to the whole, I think your point about financial dependency, I think as an Arab, let's say speaking on my behalf as an Arab woman, when do you start being more of an individual or when do you start to blend less is when you're financially independent. In my perspective, like that. Agreed. When I stopped relying on my dad for money or when I stopped relying for my mom for comfort or a home is when I was like, okay, now I need to figure out what does my space look like, right? Because I'm now furnishing my own space. What does my career look like? Because I'm financially independent enough to change my career now, you know? So for me, it was when I was financially independent that I started questioning my lifestyle, questioning who I am, questioning what I like to do, right? So it
questioning
was like,
how you want to present yourself.
Yeah.
What are the type of people you want to attract?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of independency is where you're like, okay, there's a lot of unlearning that I need to do from my family because it's not who I am in my own space, right? So yeah, I think for me, it was when I was financially independent. And I think for the longest time, as a kid growing up, you're told like, well, for me, I was a very weird kid, like really, really, really weird. Like I was emo from when I popped out of my mom's pop.
Shout out to all
Yeah.
the kids. You didn't go through it on your own. Seal was all the way.
All the way. Like, and it was, I think, back when emo
was a thing.
was starting to become a thing. Like, yeah. And I had all of it. Like, I had sadness for days. I was a kid that would go to the corner and like cry for hours for no reason. Yeah. I don't know. It was really weird, and I was very emotional. It was weird to be like that as a kid, you know, and especially all my siblings are okay and happy and chilling.
Cheery.
Yeah. And so to stop me from being that, I was forced to be in like social situations and talk and why are you sitting not talking, you know, and like get up and dance. Get up and dance in every wedding, you know? Yeah. So it's a lot of being told what to do. And I think growing up, I always thought like there's something wrong, right? Like I don't fit into what my parents want me to be and all that stuff. And then you become financially independent and you start meeting people who are like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're actually great, you know?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And when you start getting different kinds of validations from different people that are unlike your family, you're like, oh, I am a person, you know? I am okay. I am, you know?
My non-purpose crying phases had value.
Yes. They taught me how to be happy as an adult.
Happy about crying.
Yes.
So now she cries with intention.
It's okay to be sad.
It is okay to be sad, but yes, I'm glad you found that.
And now I'm like, okay, how do I seek validation without having to do anything?
Do you think we are brought up, because I relate to you, do you think we're brought up in a way where we rely heavily on external validation?
100%.
Is there do you think there's a specific type of external validation?
Yes.
That?
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
I think external validation builds Arabic families.
Yeah. Honestly.
That's so wild.
Because when your mom hears good things about you from someone else,
she's so much more prouder.
Yeah, than when you've actually done it. They're like, yeah, she loves that you did it, you know?
Yeah.
So she's getting super excited from external validation, and then you just see that growing up and you're like, yeah, other people are supposed to.
That's so true.
That
Like your mom went to a صبحية بيضت لي وجهي ابني حكينا عنك بالصبحية and I'm so proud of you blah 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 and you're like, wow, a group of middle-aged Arab women think
amazing.
I'm wonderful at the age of 10, and you're like, this is the future. I am who I am because of these Arabic women. Like that is so true. The external validation that comes from everyone else, but your internal innate feeling about yourself has designed the prospect of who you want to do things for when you're older. And I think that's a really big thought process now that you've brought it up, is how much do I do for me today and how much do I do for everyone else to see today. I think I was between jobs. I had just left Saudi and I met you at One Life in D3 really randomly. And you're like, yeah, I just want to do a podcast so I can talk about all these things unfiltered because I feel like I have so much to say. And at no point was it, I have so much to tell people. It was, I have so much to say for myself and I just think I should record it. And at no point did you ever say, I want to do Badun Sukkar to tell people about what's going on in my life.
I think that was a big unlearning for me.
Yeah.
To be able to reach a place. And I had to go through to my therapist and my family, tell them, am I ready to do this? Can I handle it? Because I know that it's going to be unfiltered and all of these things. And I had to get that sign off a little bit that I can do it. But to be able to reach that, because it was a big unlearning to not worry about what other people are going to think. Again, at the end of the day, my husband is Saudi, and this can reflect on him. Again, we're back to the people, what people are going to say. Some family members of his did say some stuff about our episode, good and positive and negative. Let's
about
say.
A single episode or Badun Sukkar?
Generally, and what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How do I come off? It wasn't an easy conversation to say, but yeah.
My biggest unlearning, you know, like, how do I reprogram to create my own thoughts about how I truly feel about myself instead of how I've been conditioned to feel about myself? And a big part of that is being okay with being alone. right? Being okay with being in your own thoughts, being okay with not being around too many people, you know, and being okay with your silence. Because growing up, I was super silent and it was always an issue. But now it's like...
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, you need to be talkative and social and
That's
hidden.
really interesting.
That's a good point. It's the same as what we were talking about it's not normal, or no, I don't like that word. It's not common for people to go watch a movie on their own, travel alone, in our culture, have a dinner for one, you know, ask for a table for one. I had to teach that to myself when I traveled. I forced myself to travel alone at one point and to get comfortable with asking for a table for one. But even Ahmed tells me, like, I can never do this. I can never travel alone. I'm like, you should. Everyone should be uncomfortable with themselves for a bit.
To me, that's where I started being more like individualistic in my ways as an Arab, you know, where I stopped really caring about putting myself in situations where I had to be social or I had to be I don't know what, and being okay with my love of solitude, you know, because that's where all my growth came from. Like being alone is where a lot of my growth came from.
I was very reliant on people liking me, anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
And that drove me mad.
Oh yeah.
Until I started liking myself, loving myself, seeking internal validation, because that was the hardest thing to do. And when
1,000,000%.
yeah, and I feel like back to individualism. Do you think an Arab can ever be happy being individualistic?
Asil, are you happy?
I'm so happy.
Yes, answer is yes.
There's hope. There's hope.
Yeah, no. So yeah, there's definitely hope, but I really feel like this has never been taught to us, right? Like us as how we grew up, this was never taught to us. Like how to be okay with yourself, how to be, it's okay to have anxiety. Anxiety was non-existent. Like anytime, I swear to God, anytime I would tell my mom, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling anxious, she'd be like, why? You have everything you want.
Yeah.
There was no understanding of what's
why
wrong.
would you ever feel sad? You know, like
they
what's
took it
wrong?
personally.
Like
as
don't
well.
be sad.
They took it personally.
They took it personally. You know, like there was no room for any other emotion but okayness. And when you're okay, you're
content
numb.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have these and you have to be okay with these. And we were never taught about that, you know? So I think once, hopefully, this generation has this awareness of how to be okay, how to understand anxiety, how to understand depression, how to be there for each other more, how to teach our children, how to teach the people. Like once there's that type of education, then
Yeah.
you know, but there isn't. There isn't.
I think
in the
it
Arab
goes
world,
to, sorry to interrupt you, but something that I notice in our social behaviors is Arab love to comment on every goddamn thing. Like someone walks by, yishu lepse, yishu, no. Habibi, just mind your own business. And I think that's part of that. Are you happy to do you? Is every other Tom, Dick and Harry is going to have a comment or تعليق على يلي بتلبسي وعلى what you do and what. Even if they don't know you, take a mind. Even if they're complete and utter strangers, you're walking in the mall. طلع شو لابسه شواخ عامله بتشان. Why are you spending so much time caring about the people around you that don't that have nothing to do with you? It's complete strangers. And so I think that energy being eliminated, hopefully, because of our generational shift.
It's going to take a while.
I mean, 1,000,000% it'll take a while. But this shift that is required is how do we stop giving a fuck about other people's business? And once we stop doing that, then we can start giving a fuck about who we want to be. I had to unlearn the dependency that my family had created from my upbringing. Whether it's my phone bill to my rent to what school I went to and what I studied, what I asking their permission to apply for a certain whatever. All of these things were designed for you to always question. There's something that we're taught, obviously, is they know more than us and they will know better than us. And so if I want to apply to design school, only Baba can tell me if it's a good school or not. How is he going to know what Shandi Bandi school in Kwanchosa, Shandi Bandi in Kuala Lumpur is going to, like, how will he know? He's never been to Malaysia. He's like, you know, whatever the school is, how will he know? And for some reason they've designed this innate, like, you have to trust them with every decision that you make. You have to consult them. But no, they don't know. They don't have the answers. And so today I can say very proudly that I have removed all forms of dependency in regards to where I apply, how do I negotiate my salary, how do I, all of these things that I should know on my own. How I furnish my house. This was the biggest fight that we had. My parents come to see the apartment that I had found for myself.
The new one?
Yeah.
Beautiful one.
Thank you. It's beautiful today, but to them, ooh, they walk in. اتخذ يروح هونيك والبراد هون وبعدين الكنبه هيك وراح تشتري هالكنبه وبعدين I just got this apartment. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Why do you know? And that was the first thing I told him. The Wi-Fi. Oh my God, the Wi-Fi. I got the wrong Wi-Fi. My dad got angry. How do you not know this is the wrong Wi-Fi? It's a live and learn and figure it out as you go. And
do you think we have room for mistakes, or our culture allows for mistakes?
Allow for mistakes? No, we can't mistake because our parents are perfect, and they are. If we're not in the image of my mama and baba, then you're wrong. That's the issue. But should we have room for mistakes? We are mistakes.
Of course.
We're mistakes that are learning, and that's the truth and the reality of every human being is you are a mistake, and your whole path is how to shape and shift this mistake into become you. You're not born perfect. There's no such thing as perfect.
There's no such thing.
The whole idea is that you are shaping as you go. And part of that is telling my parents, actually, you're uninvited to my house until I'm done and I furnished it completely because I don't want you involved.
Boundaries.
They're like, okay, what one thing? I'm like, what?
What was it?
Washing machine and the oven we want to buy you as a gift. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll take it. I will take it.
Gifts welcomed.
Gifts welcome, but it's not. My parents are the type of people. It's like if we get the washing machine and the oven, then we have to continue paying your water bills and your gas bills just so we're involved in your life forever. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
No, is it commercial link? Like maybe they believe their value is providing. There's so much more than that.
That's so true. I think that's what they're afraid of.
Maybe.
If you don't need them anymore, do they matter in your life?
That's a scary thought.
And it is a very big thought. And I think as every parent has the right to think that of their children is, if my parents don't require my support, will they still love or cherish or need me?
So they believe.
And I think but that's the thing. They need to know that you don't need to pay my diwa. You don't need to pay my telephone bills for me to give you a call every other day or week. Or I do it because I've learned to love you today.
Yeah.
And that learning to love you today wasn't based on what bills you paid. It was purely on the fact that I've grown up to become an adult of myself and my individual self. And I've learned to love parts of you that make me tolerate the relationship that we have. It's unfortunate but true, but we grow up to become ourselves. And in that moment, we grow up to learn to love the people that we want to love. And we attract the ones that we want to attract. And that comes by nature of learning. So yeah, how involved? No, they're not involved at all. I call my mother every day because I've made it a claim to myself that this is the relationship I want to build with my mother. I want to build the boundaries. They don't come and see me. We don't see each other monthly, maybe. We don't see each other. But I call them regularly. I call my brother. I call my uncles. I call everyone in my family all the time because I'm that type of person that I care for you. I care for you with my whole heart. And that's something that I learned. But I didn't know that I could learn it if I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And so being alone has taught me that I am a caring individual and I will call you regularly to check up on you and love you and show you that I am here to offer you that. If I was still living with my parents, I don't know if I would have done the same. Or I wouldn't have known how to shape that to make sense.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have been able to offer them that love that way. And for me to have that distance, I've learned to offer them love came in that format. And that's the format, that's the love I want to share with them or give them.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah.
We need to wrap up.
That's cool.
So, to wrap up, Asil, is there any last thoughts on your unlearning journey?
Ooh, any last thoughts on my unlearning journey? Be excited to not know what's coming. Sometimes it's okay to just flow and to just be, and not really need to be tied to anything like a career or, well, if you're privileged enough to do that. But like be on your own, figure out what you want, take some time for yourself, rest, you don't need to always know what's coming up, you know? And I left my job and I thought that I would be super anxious the whole time, like what's coming up next, what's coming up next. And for the first time ever, and I'm saying this ever, I am okay with not doing and not knowing, you know? And I feel so good, like better than I've ever felt before, because I just feel like there's just a load off and I don't need to be validating or doing or,
Well, good luck. I can't wait
you
to
took
hear
a decision for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest validation.
Yeah. Well, I think we all had a massive journey to unlearn and be here. And I thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And good luck. I can't wait to hear about your next step.
Journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and catch you next time.